Welcome back to How to Craft Fair. This is episode 10 in the How to Become a Craft Fair Organizer series. In this episode, we're going to be talking about charitable partnerships. So, it's pretty common for craft fairs to partner up with some kind of a local charity or foundation. So, how does this all work? What are the pros and cons of partnering with a charity or foundation? And how does this affect your ability to attract high quality vendors to participate in your event? Let's address all these questions and more right now. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about is what vendors had to say on this topic. Now, 33% of vendors say they are more likely to sign up for an event if it benefits a local charity or foundation, while 67% say it doesn't really affect whether they sign up or not. Now, 1/3 of vendors saying they are more likely to join a show that is partnered with a charity or foundation. That's a pretty significant pool of vendors. So you definitely have to weigh this into your decision on whether or not you're going to partner up with some kind of charity or foundation in your area for your show. Now, the most common type of charitable partnership is a fundraiser, and that's where your event creates revenue for the charity and it enables you to list them as a charitable partner of your event. Another way is an event raffle with proceeds benefiting the charity. So there's like a few different ways that you can raise funds for a show. Now, an easy way to generate a monetary donation is to dedicate a portion of your ticket sales or admission fees to the cause if you decide you'd like to charge an admission fee. So that's probably the easiest way to do it, is just have it set up right at the door, and you can say something like a portion of proceeds will benefit and then whoever your partner is. Okay, so this is one of the easiest methods that we've utilized for our events, and it worked very well. We received consistent feedback from both the visitors and the vendors stating that they felt good about the admission fee helping to support a good cause, particularly if it has some kind of local ties to the community. We also attracted vendors who were proud to be part of an event that partnered with the community. So just one example is the Humane Society in our area. We had a lot of people who were very passionate about that and who adopted pets at the Humane Society that we were benefiting. And so they felt really good about being part of the show that was, partnered with that cause. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize a partnership in order to leverage yourself in gaining additional vendors and then also additional visitors as well. Okay, now another method that you're going to see quite a bit at craft fairs is some sort of an event raffle where it benefits a local charity or foundation. And sometimes organizers will ask the vendors to submit an item towards a raffle, which I'm just going to be honest, okay? Personally, I always stay away from because I never felt comfortable asking vendors to essentially give away the things that they've invested time, effort, materials, and their own money into in order to be a participant in the event. Okay, so I just never really felt comfortable doing that. And it's just, I always kind of had the feeling where I was telling vendors, okay, the first item you sell at this event basically just gets you back to even, since I put you at a loss in the very beginning of this event by asking you to submit something towards the raffle. So that's something I never really felt comfortable with. Now, that's a whole different argument, though, if a vendor seeks opportunities like this out. So, for example, sometimes vendors will use an event raffle as a way to promote their business. Okay, so they want to participate in the raffle. They want to get their word out that way. Maybe it correlates with their booth number. So, they can have something set up at the raffle table and it says, I'm in this booth, come check me out. And here's one of my items, submitted towards the raffle. So that can almost have like a marketing aspect for the vendor tied into all that. So that's kind of like a whole different story as opposed to an organizer essentially forcing vendors to give up items towards a raffle upon application to your event. Okay, so there's a couple different ways to handle that, and they're both very different. So you as an organizer, you have to decide which route you want to go and which one is going to be best for you and your vendors, and you to discuss with your vendors because, of course, they'll be asking questions about how all this works. Now, the easiest way to generate your own items that are going to be part of a raffle is through a donation request. And I'm going to post a link right up here at the top of the screen for the previous video in this series, which goes into how to collect items for a raffle through the means of a donation request. Okay, so that particular episode, it's going to show you how to do that. So that's in the additional activities video in this series. And again, it'll just kind of show you all how to do that. And that's a donation request. So basically, the gist of it is that you are asking companies in your area who maybe they're entertainment companies like sports teams or just like, family activities in your area to submit an item that you can use towards your raffle that will benefit a local charity or foundation. Okay, so that's the gist of what a donation request is. Once you get to that point where you kind of like have a game plan for, okay, I'd like to work with a charity or foundation, and I have a feeling that I know how I'm going to do it, either with like a monetary situation with giving some admission fees to the charity or foundation, or I'm going to do a raffle or something like that. Once you have all that decided, then of course you have to decide who you're going to work with. Okay, so who is this actually going to benefit? So I'm going to show you a list of the charities and foundations that we've worked with just to kind of get you, give a little inspiration, get some ideas going. But there's so many different things that you can do. I mean, there's humane societies, there's homeless shelter groups. Just think of things in your area that mean a lot to you and mean a lot to the people in your area and do a lot for the people in your area. Okay, so I think that's the big thing, is just having a community tie-in and involvement all the way around. And that's probably going to be the most successful partnership that you can have for an event, is just something that's very community minded and something that people know about, or, an organization that you want to raise awareness for. Okay, so maybe they aren't like the biggest organizations, but they are in your area and they're doing good things in your area, but they just don't have like that footprint yet. They don't have that exposure yet. And, possibly your event can be one way to help shine a spotlight on the good things that they're doing. Okay, so again, there's kind of a couple different ways that you can go with that, but I would just say, just try to keep it community minded and keep it local minded too. And that's going to really hit home with people. So once you've reached the point that you know who you'd like to work with, you'll have to reach out to them. And likely one of the first things that they'll have you do is fill out some sort of an agreement or application on how your event will benefit their charity or foundation. So this, again, is another step that will require you to provide specific details on the event, as well as your plan for raising funds or supplies for them. So however you plan to help them. Now, the reason why I mentioned supplies is that, maybe it's not always a monetary donation. So things that we've done in the past were school supply drives. We've done toy drives for the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. We did pet supply drives for the Humane Society. So we've done like some monetary stuff for the Humane Society, just, raising funds. But then we've also done supply drives where a lot of times the Humane Society, they'll kind of get low on food, toys, litter, just anything that you might need for pets in a shelter. Okay, so there's so many different ways that you can go with it, and it doesn't always have to be monetary. Okay, so if you want to do some kind of a drive where you're actually collecting physical goods, that's a great idea. Now, just be sure that you're requesting new unopened items. Okay, so that's very important, especially with things like a children's hospital where they have to be very careful with, like infection or, bacteria, things like that. So just be sure that any kind of drive that you're doing, whether it's like school supply, toy, whatever, just be sure that you're asking for new unopened items. Okay. And then look on the website of the charity or foundation that you'd like to work with. And sometimes they'll even have like a wish list. Okay. So that's really important to look out for. And if they don't have it on their website, once you've connected with the charity or foundation, this is something that you can ask them that they'll really appreciate it, okay? Because a lot of times they might be in need of very specific things, and if you can kind of relay that to the visitors of your event, that's really going to mean a lot to everybody all around, okay? Because you're essentially guaranteeing that you're delivering the goods that they need the most, okay? So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But now, one thing that you can do with a charity or foundation is to have them present at your event. Now, this can add like a whole another layer of exposure for everybody, both ways, okay? Because if you have them at your show, you can say, hey, they're going to be present at the event. Be sure to stop at their booth and say hello. And, they'll appreciate that. And then sometimes they will actually advertise that they'll be at your show. So it kind of goes both ways and you get that exposure for your event. Okay. So sometimes giving away basically what amounts to as a free booth for your charity or foundation that you're partnering with, sometimes that can be really worth it if you get that additional exposure. Okay, so keep this in mind as another strategy to help market your event. So after the event and things have, kind of run their course, be sure that you touch base with your partner and get a photo op, okay? So when you go to deliver the monetary donation or all the toys or the pet supplies or school supplies or whatever you've done to make this fundraiser happen, definitely make sure that you get a photo op at their location, okay? So whatever the building is, you want to be there, you want to have a camera ready and make it a fun, exciting day. You've put a lot of work into this and it is worth celebrating, So this is something that you want to take a picture of and definitely share with all of your followers on social media. Maybe you have like an email newsletter. That's something that you want to put in there as like a post-event wrap-up type of thing. Because again, a lot of people were probably coming to this event knowing that it was partnered with a local charity or foundation. And again, it could have, some strong ties with people. So to get that kind of like full circle effect of, okay, what did this event generate and what was like all the good that came of this, it's nice for people to see that, so don't feel weird about taking a picture. Some people, I'll be honest, like some people leave comments on social media and they say, well, how come people can't do good things without taking a picture of it? Well, I think good things are worth taking a picture of. I think there should be more of that online and on the internet, so that's just my opinion. And try not to get pulled into that mindset of being worried about what those types of people have to say. Everybody has a right to their opinion. You know what I mean? Not to say that those people are wrong, but I just think that, those wins are worth celebrating, and those efforts that, everybody took part in order to make that partnership happen, that is worth showing to the world. So go ahead, take a picture and celebrate that moment. So now that we've kind of touched on some, random tidbits here and there of a partnership, I want to dive into some pros and cons. I've been doing that a lot in this organizer series, but I think it kind of helps just to lay things out in a really structured, like black and white format, just to see, some positives and negatives associated with doing a certain thing for your event. So let's talk about the pros first. Now, some of the benefits of having a charity or foundation partnership for your event is that, first of all, it provides a sense of pride in your events. Doing something good for your community is never a bad thing, okay? So that's the first thing I want to say. Second is that there is potential appeal for both visitors and vendors. More people might be drawn to your event since it supports a worthy cause and it feels truly tied to the community. Okay, so there could be some additional exposure involved there as well. Sometimes, again, the local charities or foundations will provide and assist in advertising your event if it's helping to raise awareness for them in return. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Third thing is that it helps to establish you as a more credible organizer. Having a partnership, it carries with it a lot of additional responsibilities. Now, I don't want to say that to like overwhelm you, to kind of scare you away from doing this, but you do have to kind of hold up your end of the bargain on a few different things when you have a partnership with a charity or foundation. Okay. But if you can see this through and host a successful show, the impact of that is even greater when you've got partnerships in place. Okay. So it really does help to kind of bump you up a notch as a more established, reputable organizer. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is that it can help your bottom line as an organizer by potentially having some tax write-offs. And I know that that sounds kind of shallow after everything that we just talked about, but I mean, really, there is truth to it. And I am giving this tutorial, this entire series basically, as an instructional guide for-profit organizers. Okay, so it does help at the end of the day, and you don't have to feel guilty about, having that weigh into your decision. Okay, I mean, organizers, they spend a lot of money to put their shows on, trust me. I mean, vendors, I hope you understand that. I know that sometimes organizers can be a little bit frustrating, maybe their communication's not great or just whatever it might be, but please trust me that organizers are very, very heavily invested in their events, a lot of times by several thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, literally. So just take this into account, organizers, that yes, there are some tax benefits for, potentially working with a foundation or a charity in your area. Okay, now let's talk about a couple of the drawbacks of partnering with a local charity or foundation. And let's pretty much just roll off the last tip that we talked about earlier. And it generally comes with some kind of loss of potential revenue. Okay, so let's just say, for example, you were doing a monetary donations based off of providing partial proceeds of admission fees at the door. Well, those are admission fees that you could have just kept to yourself. Okay, so that is the potential loss of revenue. But you have to keep in mind that you could argue that there is going to be additional people drawn to your event because of the fact that there is the charity or foundational partnership. Okay, so yes, there is some sacrifice if you're making a monetary donation, but perhaps that's completely offset by the additional people that are coming to your show. Okay, so you're never really going to know exactly, where all of that scale is tipped. Okay, so where that exchange comes in with the additional people drawn to the event and the additional funds going out to the charity. Okay, so I look at it as kind of a wash. Okay, in my mind, even though I don't know exactly what the figures are, how many additional people came because of this, I like to think of it as a wash monetarily. Okay, and then I get to treat the show as something more meaningful for the community. Okay, so that's one way to treat it in your mind, to not stress and not worry so much about, the potential loss of revenue. Think about the silver lining instead. Perhaps you're attracting more people to your show, which not only is going to help you financially, but it's going to make your vendors happier. So just look at, the positive, and I think you'll feel better about this decision afterwards. Now, the one real drawback that I can find in all of this is that, yes, it is going to require some additional effort. You're going to apply for a partnership. You're going to communicate with the charity or foundation. You're going to have the check presentation and the follow-ups if you have the toy drive and delivery, so the goods collection and the drop-off. Consider all of the steps required and the manpower that it will take to complete this partnership successfully. So that is the one tangible thing that I can identify that does make it a little bit trickier when you have a partnership with a charity or foundation. Okay, but honestly, when we talked about all those good things, that's not a whole lot, pushing up against it on the negative side. Okay, so definitely consider this as something that you can do for your events. Looking back at the 10 years that I hosted events, I'm really proud of what we did, and yeah, we gave some money away that we could have kept, and it amounted to a fair amount that would have made a difference for us. But I'm here now, and I survived, and it's fine. You know what I mean? So it's did I really miss it? I don't know. I mean, to me, it's worth more to know that yes, our events were meaningful, and it wasn't just a craft fair. You know what I mean? So you got to weigh all that into account, and make that decision for yourself. But I hope this information helps you out and makes this decision a little bit easier for you to make. Again, this was episode 10 in the How to Become a Craft Fair Organizer series. To check out all the other videos in the playlist, click on the playlist above. Thank you all so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great day.